if Epstein was tied to any intelligence, he would have never had to do any jail time. He wouldn't have. He wouldn't have. He likely did an easy, the first time he had like work release back in the early 2000s. I mean, he barely spent any time in jail. That was likely, favors of the Clintons, let's say. But he wasn't tied to intelligence. Definitely not Mossad. There's no evidence for it. Is Ghislaine Maxwell's father, did he have connections to Mossad? Yeah, but there's no evidence that him and Epstein ever had even met. Here's the thing. This is the reason why I'm not going to try to stop anybody from, because I realize that it's pointless. People will choose to follow the psyop. You would have thought, though, that Candace Owens and Dave Smith and all these people, you would have thought they'd been a little bit more creative, but instead they're literally using to the letter the exact same talking points that Hitler used about the Jews. That it's a worldwide Jewish conspiracy, Jewish intelligence agencies, Jewish bankers control the world. They're the genocider. I mean, down to the very exact same things that Hitler said. It's eerie. It's eerie. And yet everybody, there's so many people are you can't pull them away from it. They're convinced of it. Sort of like there's no point in trying to tell people the real history of America, how we were the ones that stood up and fought against the slave traders, and we stood up against slavery and racism. But unfortunately, again, we had those universities here, the same ones that are a problem still, Yale, Harvard, Columbia, a handful. They were here. The colonies put them here. The British Empire and those people that worked in those. I mean, they tried to, once America won the war, there were people that tried to get them to, loyalty oaths, like you can't be still serving the crown. But how would you ever know? Well, I think we can tell now. I mean, when you have these Ivy League universities and your kids are marching and chanting for Hamas, then I think it's pretty safe to say those are universities that hate America. But that they hated America even before that, which is why they outright say that their institutions have been racist. And so then you wonder, well, why are they doing that? Well, because then they can tie it to your country, even though they've always been tied to the crown, loyal to the crown, because they live in your country and because they're literally the racist institution doing this racism. They've created the systemic racist problem. But they wanted to, because then they can say, well, it's America, so this is America's fault. And it's really not. It's because, those institutions were part of the British Crown. And, they've always been here. So these were people that deliberately want to make your country look bad. And all for one reason. It's to convince, the majority of blacks anyway, but whites too, that America has a systemic racist slavery problem, and it's not true. It's only true because the people that were loyal to the British Crown that were in those universities. Those universities were here in the 1600s, many of them. So, after the war, it was kind of a problem. People knew it was going to be a problem. But they say, oh no, we accept, we accept. Some of us even fought in America's Revolution. Yeah, sure they did. No, those people came here. They didn't care about the British Crown when it was the colonies. They didn't care about the British Crown bringing slaves here. They didn't. They never cared. They were in their high elite universities and being their, hoity-toity selves. And so then when we won the war and said no more of that, well, then they started being the racists. Not that they weren't before that, but they actively turned their institutions into racist institutions, because as long as it is in America, then you can tie it to America's history, if people can follow that. It's not, in my opinion, it's still not tied to America's history, because those were just people that were loyal to the crown. Obviously, I mean, because the universities are still, those same universities are still a problem today. But all of this is just people have decided they're going to believe those psyops. And I realized, especially after all the liberal whites in my comment, like I done a video yesterday, it had, it wasn't for white people. The black community, they have a gift. They have a gift even if they don't know it. And the gift, they have a natural ability to know God. They do. And white liberals that are atheist would never. And that's what I had in my comment section. And it's like, God, white liberals, get out of my comment section. Half of your brain doesn't even function. But yeah, I even there's just, they have this, I hate to say sixth sense, because many people have that. It's more that it's a hyper connection. It's there. It's just some people don't, reach and get to know God. But the best sermons and pastors I've ever heard have always been black. They're so heartfelt, and they're just, you can tell they know God. And so I've noticed that through the years. And I've worked with a lot of black people. Obviously, I'm a nurse. I've worked with a lot of Asian people. I've worked with a lot of, many different people. But I've noticed that there's that, it's almost like it's part of their DNA. I don't know. They have a natural ability to know God very quickly, more than I think a lot of people. I can't explain it. So that's why to white liberals, that video, they were, trashing it. And of course they would, because white liberals want the racist, they just hate America. I mean, ask any white liberal, tell them you hate America. They'll never deny it. They won't. They stand on the same side as the racist universities. Well, they act like they care about the black cause. Sure. So anyway, but you're not going to change either side of this, and you're not going to change the people that have already decided they're going to believe the Candace and Dave Smith psyop. I mean, that one's a really obvious one, because they are taking straight out of Hitler's manual. He said that there was a Jewish global conspiracy. There was Jewish intelligence agencies that wanted to hurt the German people. It was the Jewish bankers stealing from the German people. Everything you've heard. So that's the reason why I call bullshit on it. But just like the poor German people were pulled into it, everybody now has their ego invested in it, right? Your ego's invested. No, I'm right. Okay, well, if you want to play into it, then play into it. But when it's coming from the very same playbook and the very same words, like, think about it. Candace or Dave Smith, they could have at least changed it up a little so it didn't look so obvious. They literally take the same talking points that Hitler does. Yeah, go listen to Hitler. It's the exact same talking points. They're doing the same thing. And what did that lead to? It led to people being, okay with the genocide. But then, of course, they're saying that the Jews are genociding everyone. Right. Yeah, that's not happening. But, so that's why. Intelligence agencies, he would have never faced any jail time. He would have never had to even register as a sex offender. Not if he was tied to Mossad and CIA. He got a cushy deal first time around, even though he hated it, but he had a work release program and he was pissed he had to register as a sex offender. I would say, and he got a cushy deal because of the Clintons. That's why. It has nothing to do with intelligence agencies. If he was tied to intelligence, his ass would have never even went to jail.